They have to be. If they're not swimming in cash, then the company doesn't deserve to survive and the game deserves to die after the amount of revenue, the revenue shot they've received in the past 8 months.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Kayura and Mal Podcast, where we are documenting our journey of my fiance trying to turn me into a gamer. For those new here, I'm Kayura.
And I am Malaganis, the overseasoned, overcooked veteran.
So, even me not being a gaming person has heard about Tarkov. So,
I'm in Spain without the S. I cannot even express my frustration. I feel betrayed. They've burned all goodwill and trust. Well, what little goodwill and trust that they had with me. Really hitting the pay to win mechanics pretty hard. And when I say pay to win, and I've ruminated, I've thought about it some more, and that's staff sizes, gamma containers, kappa containers, starting gear, starting ammo. It'll give you an edge, but it's not going to help you survive that much. It can help you survive if you're a good player, but if you're a new player to Tarkov and you buy this new $250 edition and you spawn into the game, your gear will very quickly be somebody else's gear. And for those who have played Tarkov long enough, knows that your gear is not your gear. You're just the current renter of that gear till the next person starts renting it after they take it off your body. But the scavs don't shoot you outside of 60 meters mechanic. Sniper scavs are irrelevant now. You don't have to worry about it. One of the most broken things in the game that has ended many people's play sessions. No longer a concern for you. It's not.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this as someone who has never played Tarkov and just kind of getting into what it is. I think the more upsetting part, from what I understand, is they basically sold you the game in beta, and I say you as in like not necessarily everyone bought into this, but a lot of people did. They were sold the game in beta under the pretense that they were going to get access to everything.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All future DLC.
And now they said, never mind. And to me, that's scummy. And I'm kind of wondering if this is going to open them up to a lawsuit. Because if you purchase something...
So, I got an update for you on that, and I don't know if it's been initiated yet, but I saw a clip from Pirate Software, and he said this is blatant false advertising. They're based in the UK. The EU, because I think they technically fall under EU law, has stronger false advertising laws than the US does. He says this is a lawsuit. He said it will be a lawsuit.
And that's what I'm really waiting to see. And like I said, maybe there's something that we're all just missing, that there's like this hidden loophole where they have found a way around it. But to me, it feels like they created this thing without like, and I'm talking like the initial setup of like selling it and then having access to everything without thinking long term. It was just, I felt like it was like, we need money in the short term, so they did this. And I'm almost wondering if now like they've hit a financial snag.
They can't have hit a financial snag because something in my exploded brain over the last 36, 48 hours, what I didn't think about, they just added in-game cosmetics that sum total, if you were to buy them, is like, I think it's 5, 10, and 15. So $60 if you were to buy all of them. I'm sure there's a lot of players out there that bought all of them, or at least bought the $15 ones. They're so flush with cash right now. I don't know how. Like, I don't, like, they don't have a money problem. They have a greed problem. That's the only thing that explains this. They have to be flush with cash after the amount of people that bought into Arena, the amount of people that had the FOMO and bought the EOD edition before it went away, these cosmetic items that were added for the clothing for the PMCs. They are swimming in cash. They have to be. If they're not swimming in cash, then the company doesn't deserve to survive and the game deserves to die after the amount of revenue, the revenue shot they've received in the past 8 months.
And again, don't know everything, haven't seen their book, so I'm kind of curious if I'm wondering if, and I'm kind of spitballing ideas. I have not researched any of this, so tell me if I'm wrong, or if you have information that I just don't know about, because I've not really researched this. I've been getting information, and I love the drama.
I'm on my second listening of the podcast. Go check out Jesse and Veritas's podcast. It's amazing, but I'm on my second listen right now.
I actually want to go through and listen to that and kind of see what they had to say, but I'm wondering if maybe, like, there was financial support either in the form of a partner or in borrowing money that helped them get here, but now they kind of like owe that money back.
If they did, it would have been 4 years ago that they owed that money back.
Okay. I'm wondering if there's something else going on that people just don't know about, or maybe that, like, if Tarkov is kind of like done with development, if maybe they're trying to like use Tarkov to get funding for a new game.
Well, they did that with Arena, and it fell on its face because it sucks. Arena is miserable to play. Don't get me wrong, Tarkov is miserable to play, but Tarkov is a game of inches. Arena is just a game of Arena is all the bad things about Tarkov crammed into one game. At least there are brief moments in Tarkov of elation of, I succeeded, I won, I overcome. Winning in Tarkov is surviving. Winning in Arena is you win, then you lose, then you win, then you lose, then you win, then you lose. It's just this repetitive cycle of misery. You're Sisyphus in a first-person shooter.
But that's like, I guess what blows my mind with this is how can you not think that, even if this sounds like a great way to get money, how does this not ultimately like burn all the bridges with their clients so far?
So,
because to me it sounds like that's what's happening. Have you heard of anyone?
People bought it. I know streamers have bought it, but the streamers who bought it more in the vein of,
is it more like,
I want to see what this is so that I can report on it to my viewers?
It's more of a business expense.
Yeah, it's a business expense to them to tell their viewers, hey, do not buy this. This is what it is. More in the vein of reporting on the truth.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to be like, well, I only have an EOD edition, so I can't speak on really what this new Unheard edition is. They went, they bought it, and they said, this is what it is. This is what it comes with. This is what you're paying for.
And that's something like you got to think of, like with them, of like, it's not like, because we are not monetized on YouTube. We do not get paid to do this at the moment. And so I'm thinking, like, for us to go and buy it and see what it's like, if we would be pulling, what is it, $250?
It would be $100. It would cost us $100 because I have EOD.
Okay, but we're looking at another $100.
Yep.
For you to go and get it to review it versus them of like they're getting paid, so it's like they might spend the $100 to get the
and they could make 1,000 plus off of it just in ad revenue alone, not even to include donations from their viewers or Patreons or whatever.
But what I'm curious to see is anyone going to say, hey, go buy this game? Or are they all going to be like, hey, this is what it is not worth it? And everyone's so mad at Tarkov and their developers for doing this that they're just going to walk away from Tarkov completely.
From what I understand, a lot of streamers are walking away right now. I think a lot of streamers that really made their name in Tarkov have wanted to start switching. And they wanted to either transition into variety or into another game. And I think the general sentiment from what I understand from what Jesse and Veritas have said is that they wanted it to be a 2 or 3 year process post 1.0 release, which we're very close to. But this is BSG just ripped the bandage off, and now they're all like, we don't know what to do. We can't condone this behavior. So now they're all going to variety.
Which I feel like this might be the best way to do it, because I know for some people, they like, you listen to YouTubers and they talk about trying to, like, once they like found a particular niche, to switch over to something else, because Tarkov is way more specific than just video games. So if all your target audience is expecting Tarkov, but now everyone is unifiably mad at Tarkov, but they like the streamer, they're more apt to stick with them.
Yep.
Versus them just being like, I'm done playing Tarkov, let me go play this instead.
And it depends. I mean, there's obviously, we don't have a viewer base other than, I think there's like 3 people that are consistently here. Love you guys. You guys are awesome.
If you made it this far, don't forget to like and subscribe.
There's that.
Let us know your opinions on Tarkov.
Yeah, it's more positive. But yeah, so I kind of lost my train of thought, but from what I understand, that like Jesse and Veritas and Airwing Marine, like guys like that, like they notice a difference in their viewership, like especially on Twitch, I would imagine. Maybe not so much their YouTube videos, but definitely in their Twitch viewership, that like if they're not playing Tarkov, people aren't watching them. Yeah. Which sucks, but it's also like, I feel like.
But I'm wondering, like, so it's easy to use you as an example. Like, you watch Jesse and Veritas, you watch them play Tarkov.
I don't really watch them play Tarkov. I don't really watch people play games. I listen to people talk about games, and that's about the most.
You only listen to the podcast they do. Okay, got it. But let's say, you know, Jesse and Veritas are like, they're now having to switch over. Do you think you will be more apt to watch them play something else, knowing that they are now going to be struggling, and still wanting to support them?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to cancel my Patreon subscription to them because I love the podcast, and it's been a huge inspiration for this, and I want to try and repay them in some way for, one, giving me the confidence to do something like this, especially with you, because I wasn't confident about it, them and Pirate Software, and 2, really showing me what right looks like on a video platform like this, even though I know I'm not doing the best job. I'm learning as I go. But like, I would shit a brick if I got, because I know Jesse's been interested in an MMO, and he's like, World of Warcraft's too big, and I'm like, but it's not too big, man. It's not. It's only as big as you want it to be. You can just dip a toe in, man. Come play World of Warcraft with me. It'll be awesome. We'll have fun. You know, it's like, because I know he has that innate gamer knowledge. I don't have to explain everything to him. It's just more I have to get him to understand how the wheels are turning. Or Star Citizen. I know he plays and loves Star Citizen. I'd love to watch him play Star Citizen, but I want to see, like, what's his ship collection like? How does he play Star Citizen? Is it different than the way I play Star Citizen? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's what I'm more interested in. I'm not the type of person that just goes and sits in a stream and just like, oh, poggers every time they get a headshot. I'm just like I would rather play myself and listen to a podcast, or you know what I mean, something like that, or a new album drop that I want to listen to. I'll listen to it while I level in World of Warcraft or grind rep, or I'm working on time walking dungeons right now. So it's like,
but obviously, like, there are people, I mean, they make a living off of it, so obviously there are people that enjoy watching it. And so do you think they're going to be more apt to watch them play something different, whereas they really hadn't been beforehand?
I hope so. That is my hope. My hope is that there are people out there who will continue to support and watch them so they can continue to make this great content for us.
And I'm going to be honest, even as someone, like, I do not watch I don't watch video game content on YouTube or Twitch or anywhere like that. I think I've watched one episode of the podcast, but I do know how much of an inspiration that, like, Jesse and Veritas have been for this channel and for you, and kind of doing all the work to set this up, where I just have to show up.
Yeah, she doesn't do anything. She shows up and she talks.
That's what I'm good at.
2 degrees, ladies and gentlemen. 2 degrees. And I am a college dropout.
I also have a full-time programming job, work a retail job, and pet sit. So, and do this.
I'm a garbage collector. That's what I do.
That's not what you do, but okay.
Yeah.
But even still, as my point being of like, I don't watch them, but I'm more apt of knowing the struggles that they're about to hit, of not wanting to do Tarkov content anymore, and me like very firmly wanting to support them in that decision is like, maybe I will watch them play other stuff actually to support them in this, because
I think you would enjoy watching Veritas because he plays very like off the wall things, and I don't mean off the wall as like, oh, he's a contrarian. It's like he has like an electrical engineer background. I think that's what he's professionally trained in. I think if a game appeals to his brain, I think it would appeal to your brain.
Yeah, he's one of. I feel like it'd be really cool to sit down and have a conversation with him from like what I've gathered from the little bit that I have watched of them, and some of the things like I know you'll watch them and tell me about their conversations, so I don't have to watch them. I feel like I would really enjoy having a conversation with him. But
Jesse and I are more alike than me and Veritas, and you and Veritas are more alike than you and Jesse.
But it's just, like I said, of knowing the influence that they've had on our channel and even just getting this started, I feel more apt to want to support them, as they're basically just, essentially it's like they're changing careers right now.
Yeah, well, and Veritas, I can't remember the last time he played Tarkov. He did Arena for a little while, but he definitely isn't streaming like he was a year or two, probably 2 years ago. Year and a half ago. But Jesse, like, I'm legitimately worried about him. Like, his entire career and family rests on Tarkov's success, and Tarkov is intent on destroying itself currently.
I don't understand why they thought this was a good idea. That's what really blows my mind, is how did you not know? So
2 things. There was a leaked Q&A between somebody at BSG. I don't know if it was Nikita or someone else, and I can't remember the other guy's name. He was a streamer. It might have been a she. And basically, they're like, "Go fuck yourself." That's basically what they said.
Are they just tired of trying to put out a good product? Is that what it is? Are they just tired of it?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like they want to destroy themselves so they have an excuse to quit.
Well, their other game they made sucked. This game sucked. They just need to close the studio down. If they can't make either of these work with the millions of dollars that's been poured into them, I don't...
Well, and I guess what blows my mind is, like, from what I gathered, like, Tarkov, like, in the grand scheme of things, was pretty good as far as, like, the reality aspect.
So, and I've thought about that. And these things, like the unheard communicator radio thing that prevents scavs from shooting at you, continues to drift further from reality. And it's like, it's a self-branded hardcore milsim. But like, my thing is, and I think I talked to you about this the other day, is Tarkov at its core, for the most part, like probably 90% of the time, is patrolling the simulator. And for the ones that are out there that know what I'm talking about, it is patrolling the simulator. And I would assume you guys agree with me. And for those of you who know what that means, patrolling sucks. It's miserable. It is miserable the entire time. Like, don't get me wrong, I have fun, doing patrolling training, but it is, your feet hurt, your back hurt, you're hungry, you're dehydrated, you're operating in environments that are extremely uncomfortable, you're running on little to no sleep. Tarkov is patrolling the simulator. And it's like, people are like, well, we want it to be more realistic and more hardcore. I'm like, no, you don't. the more realistic you make it, the more arbitrary you're going to make the game and less fun it's going to be for people to play.
And that's and I do think there's a fine line between like how realistic it is. Because I do think, I mean, everyone would agree with this at some point. Life sucks. And it's like you want video games to escape.
Why do you think I love World of Warcraft so much? For all of its problems, I didn't play Shadowlands. We don't acknowledge that expansion.
But like for me, like especially like when I talk about liking the realism of a game, I'm particularly referring to like physics aspects, because I hate it's like if you look and I'm going to say this from experience of someone doing some coding, and it's like the character walks off a cliff
and it doesn't fall correctly.
It doesn't fall. It just keeps walking in air because it's like it doesn't realize the cliff is gone.
Or like walking, they're like running in place against a wall, but that drives you. You can do that in Tarkov. Run in place against a wall.
That doesn't bother me so much, but because it's like at least the wall's there. Now, if you can run through a wall.
Oh no, there are hackers like that can phase through stuff. But there are places on the map that you can jump through walls and doors and door frames, stuff like that. But
like, I want the physics to work. Like if you jump off a cliff, and I mean, it doesn't have to be exactly like, it doesn't have to be, gravity has to equal 9.8 meters per second. Like, and like the acceleration of gravity, like it doesn't have to be exact like that, but like if you jump off a cliff, I want the character to fall. Yeah. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I get it.
And it's like, it was like aspects like that of like, because from my guy, you talked about how like bullets would actually, like gravity would actually have like a slight impact.
Yeah, so it typically, not to get too heavy into the realm of ballistics, because there's multiple things that contribute to it. It's gravity, wind resistance, it's bleeding inertia as it's, you know, after it's left the barrel. And what is frustrating about Tarkov is like, we've done the calculations for like, we know them all. We did them all like 60 years ago. And every time a new bullet design or round comes out, we do the math for it. You can't tell me there isn't a physics simulator that you can't just take that equation and plug it into.
Depends on how complicated you want it to be.
And I'm not talking mega complicated. I'm not talking like windage and all that. Yeah. Just straight line as the crow flies. How much is it going to drop over a certain amount of distance?
I mean, yeah, that's relatively easy.
Right, because windage isn't in the game. You don't have to calculate for windage. The only time you have to even remotely consider calculating for windage is if your target is moving. You have to lead the target.
Yeah, makes sense.
But other than that, so I'm like, we've poured millions of dollars into this game. As a community, we poured millions of dollars into this game. I don't know what the number is. I'm not going to sit here and say I know what the number is, but I imagine we're definitely over the 7-figure mark. Probably a pretty realistic thing. And there's bugs in the game that have existed for 4 or 5, probably 6 years, from what I understand from the older guys that I talked to, the guys that taught me how to play, who started playing before I did. They're like, oh yeah, that bug's still there. It's never going to go away. It's going to be there when the game releases. And I'm like, why though? And they're like, that's just, they create something and then they move on. They don't come back and fix it. And
I would say to me, that is indication of poor design and lack of care. And I get like if they did it and then they accidentally broke it, but if it's been there for 4 years, like it's like that's poor. Like the second you found out about it, someone should have been going through and fixing it.
Yeah, like there's no, like it's not called back end, is it? It's whatever. There's no scrubbers like that come back through. You know, like validating data. There's no like bug validators. Like you can submit a bug report, but there's no guarantee that anybody's even going to look at it.
Yeah. And that's something of like, it needs to be there. And I get like, you can't account for every scenario when you're validating in a video game like that. But it's like when you have people pointing out like, hey, this is here. and people, and especially like if it's in beta,
Mm-hmm.
you know, people know like, hey, there's probably going to be some bugs.
Yeah.
But it's like when you find out about it, if you're not taking what the players are saying and being like, oh, this bug was found, we need to go fix it. To me, that's a problem. And that shows laziness and a lacking care of the quality of the product.
Which is insane to me, because if you look at the level of detail on weapons and gear,
Yeah.
there is no game development company, okay, there probably is now, but there wasn't a year ago, that put the amount of care and consideration and attention to detail into weapons as much as Battlestate Games did, and they just refuse it. Just anything else doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and Tarkov realistically burned me out of first-person shooters. I don't want to play one anymore. And since they've burned all good faith and goodwill and faith that I had with them, I don't want to come back and play theirs. I remember a time all I wanted to do was play Tarkov. I just wanted to get on with Vash and play Tarkov. And now I'm just like thinking about it. I'm like, I just want to throw up. It takes so long to gear up. It takes so long to get into a raid just to get one shot by an AI sniper scav 200 meters away that you couldn't see through fog that shouldn't technically be there.
Honestly, what it sounds to me like is let me think of how I want to put this for a second. It sounds like a group of guys coming out of school, excited about being video game designers, start their own company, get the funding for the game, and then they work on it, and over time they slowly lose their joy and passion, but they've developed this thing to the point, and it sounds like that's where they're at. They're just done, and they don't care.
It could be that. That's not necessarily the case, because I don't know if any of them are coders by trade or discipline. Because, well, so Escape from Tarkov is not their first game. Contract Wars is their first game. Tarkov was originally meant to be a browser game like Contract Wars was. That's why it's so easy to hack in Tarkov, because it's all built on a browser game framework. So it's almost like, I don't even know how to describe it because I'm too much of an idiot to be able to just describe it in a clear and concise manner. It's like open source. It's like you don't have passwords on any of your stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's the only way my brain can my Luddite brain can understand it. And they may have fixed that recently, but I mean,
No, it sounds like they jumped into this, and it feels like they bit off more than they could chew, and they're just kind of done. Like that to me is what it sounds like. And like I said, I could have been just too specific in it, but it sounds like
it wasn't too much. The problem is that they just keep adding to it. They keep adding to the misery. Does that make sense? Because it's like, originally the game was this big, and they said, this is what we're going to release. And then it just kept ballooning and ballooning and ballooning and ballooning and ballooning.
Do you think it's the fact of like, they kept getting ideas, they didn't know where to stop, and now it's just like they're to the point that they're overwhelmed and they're done and they just don't care anymore?
You just hit the nail with a sledgehammer. Right on the head. And that's kind of what I think what's happened.
And it's sad. Sometimes you're better off releasing small but quality output.
Yeah. Well, and then they crapped out Arena, which sucked. And I was so stoked for it. I was like, okay, I will get to practice Tarkov combat. And it's just the worst parts of Tarkov combat just crammed together.
Mm.
Yeah, it's...
Wonder if they would have been better off doing like a couple different versions of Tarkov with like their different ideas and just having like smaller, different.
Wouldn't work.
Okay.
Not in the gaming world. I've only seen...
Doesn't that kind of work? Isn't that kind of how WoW works in a way?
That's what I was about to get to. That's exactly what I was about to get to.
So like,
here's the reason that I think it works in World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft is old. Warcraft is older than me. I think me and Warcraft are the same age. Or right around there. When World of Warcraft Classic came out, the game was 15 years old. There were people who were playing World of Warcraft the day that World of Warcraft came out that were born after World of Warcraft came out. World of Warcraft Vanilla Classic originally came out. They weren't even alive to experience what World of Warcraft Classic was. That's why WoW Classic works. That's why WoW Season of Discovery works. Because the span of time is so great. And there's been so many changes and iterations. Tarkov is an adolescent teen to the age of World of Warcraft and its lore and it's 30 years of lore almost.
So that makes sense. And I guess part of my mind was thinking of like over time slowly releasing different versions of Tarkov and even probably not even putting them under the name Tarkov, putting them under different names, but it being very similar games where people can get different things out of it. Kind of my question is, why do you think they tried to do so much in Tarkov?
Well, so there have been multiple versions of Tarkov. They release patches. We're on like 14.6 now or something. You go back to 11.7, it looks like a different game. It was a different game. So it has changed and new versions have come out. But I think they're trying to get to an end state now as far as things that have just been released over and over, or things that just keep getting added and system bloat over and over and over and over again. Either whoever the creative director is, or if that person is Nikita, nobody's got a collar on them. You know, whoever that person is, even if it is Nikita, somebody needs to sit him down and be like, hey, stop. We're not even done with the shit you came up with 4 years ago, and you're already trying to get us to push through new features now.
I'm going to use... Sorry, this is an analogy that kind of hit from Fresh Shopping today. So it sounds like, and I'm thinking, so I was wedding dress shopping today, getting ready for our upcoming.
She found it. So I've been told. I don't know what it looks like.
But I think from the perspective of people will walk in to the bridal store, like they kind of want everything in a dress. They'll want their Cinderella dress, but they'll also want to have like sexy elements of it.
They spend too much time on Pinterest. Is that what I understand?
And it's like they want lace and they want sparkle, but they also want satin, and they literally want everything in a dress. And then when you put it on,
it looks horrendous.
I wouldn't say horrendous because I had this experience today where I tried on a dress. I saw it online. I was like, I love that dress. I'd actually showed him a picture of it. I was like, I really like this dress. It was over budget, but my mom agreed to, she was just like, we made a comment and my mom was like, let's try it on anyway. She was the one paying for the dress, so she gave the clear. But I put the dress on and it had the lace and the sparkle and everything. And when I was looking in the mirror, I was just looking at everything on the dress. I wasn't looking
at yourself.
I wasn't looking at myself. I wasn't looking at the full picture. I was just looking at the dress. There was so much there. It was a beautiful dress, but there was so much there. And I almost didn't know where to go with that because all the pictures on my phone were similar to that dress.
Okay. Fortuitous, I think is the right word.
Because it was the type of dress I thought I always wanted.
Okay.
It was like fitted with lace and it had some sparkle and it had the open back and it had like open necklines for like, it was everything I thought I wanted. And then standing there in it, I was just like, I don't like this. And I even like tried on several more similar dresses, and every time I was just like, I don't like it. But there was just so much there.
Okay.
There was so much, the different elements to look at. There was like sparkle on the straps, and you were looking at the low back, and then in the front you were looking at the sparkles, and like there was just, you didn't know where to look. And it feels like Tarkov has kind of done that they just keep adding elements and elements because they think they want it, but then when they put everything together, it's not working.
Yeah, I can.
Did I just go way too
No. Like, I think you're hitting it from a position that I don't think about it as, because the way that I think about it is like, say 1,000 games have come out since they initiated this project that all have come up with new ideas that they didn't initially think of, that they didn't know that they would want in the game, and now they're trying to shoehorn them back in. And
especially with coding, it's like, when you start developing for the initial idea, eventually you get to a point where it's harder to put things back in because you
can't go back around.
It doesn't interact. It's like you almost have to scrap everything and start over.
Yep, 100%.
And it's hard to develop that way. That's part of, like, there's a project that we've been redoing at work because they had developed it one way, and then
don't dox yourself. Don't dox yourself again.
But they had developed it, and managers kept like, let's add this, and it just got to a point it was running so slow.
Mm-hmm.
And it just like, it kept just getting clunkier and clunkier. And so we've had to, like, we literally scrapped it. We're changing the software that we're coding in. We're changing where the software that the dashboards are in. Like, we're changing everything. And to be honest, I think 5 years from now, we'll probably be in the same situation if people just want to keep adding to it.
Right, yeah.
But it's like, because there's even things right now that we're adding that it's like, it would have been more efficient to do it this way, but we just didn't know that they were going to want this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's harder, like, well, this is done, and if we go back and change it, we also have to change all these other things. It's quicker to just add it here and make it take an extra 5 seconds.
Right.
But 5 seconds and then like 10 seconds here and then another 8 seconds here, like those slowly just add up.
Then it takes 12 hours to load a page.
Yeah.
No, I definitely get that. And I think my biggest thing, because it kind of, and I get how you work and your brain thinks, and you always tend to play the devil's advocate, which is fine. But I don't think you have to play the devil's advocate here, because they're doing it for themselves. They're debating the semantics. Well, it's a unique feature. It's not a DLC. Do you have to download the content to put it on your computer to play it? Yes, therefore it qualifies as a DLC. It's in the name.
Which, and I think for me, like, I understand, especially with, at least, I don't know how the rest of the world's going, but I know in the US, like, economy's rough. So I understand from the aspect of, like, I can understand if they needed more money, but for me, what really irks me with this is now saying, of like, we sold you this under the pretense that you would get everything ever released with Tarkov, and it's like, now they're backing out of that deal that they made. And that's what really irks me. Like, it doesn't matter what your reasons are, you agreed to these terms. Now, if you want to take those terms off the table for future people, but these people need to be grandfathered in, because their assumption was they were going to get the final game.
And that was like what we talked about. If they had said, we're releasing a new edition of the game to replace the EOD edition, called the Unheard of edition, and if you were a previous EOD owner, you are now an Unheard edition owner. If they had grandfathered all EOD users into the Unheard edition, and then said to anybody who didn't have the EOD edition, this is the new EOD edition. If you want it, come and get it. BSG would be king of the world right now.
That's where I'm at, of like, I love playing devil's advocate. I can understand why they're doing it, but that, even if I can understand why, it doesn't make it right. And that's my biggest thing, of like, you did this, and I was like, I'm really curious to see if anyone is going to push a lawsuit on this, because I don't see how it could be avoided unless there's just something in the fine print that everyone's missing.
I don't even know if it's a fine print thing, because everybody has the screenshots. Everybody has their original receipts of the EOD edition. I could go pull mine right now from 2020, 2019, something like that. And it clearly states you will receive, or however it's worded, you will receive all future downloadable content for Escape from Tarkov. It's clearly stated. That was a major selling point to buy EOD. Was to guarantee you all future DLC.
Yeah.
And now it's like, now we're going to back out on the deal.
Yeah. And that's where I'm just like, you can't.
Ooh, buddy.
You can't do that. Like,
yeah, they've burned. There's literally, I think it was Tiggs or another guy I saw. No, it wasn't Tiggs. It was another guy. He said, I'm playing Tarkov right now, so I hope that people click on Tarkov in Twitch. And if they come and ask me, should I buy the game or should I upgrade? He's like, I want to be there so that they ask me, and I tell them, no, don't play this game. Go play something else.
And that's something of like, and for me, it's just like, even if they're making this game that has like terrible features, like where they've just done too much, it'd be one thing of like, you paid the money and that even if they continue to work on it, but just they're going back on a deal. And I think they realize like they made a deal with the devil and now they're trying to get out of it.
Yeah.
Because honestly, when you told me initially that that's what they did, it kind of shocked me a little bit.
To me, this goes back to another conversation that we had earlier in the week. It might have been on the last episode. It was an accountant's decision.
Yeah.
This was not a game director's decision. This was not a game developer's decision. This was an accountant said, there's this many EOD owners. There's this many other edition owners. We're going to release this new edition, and we're not going to grandfather these guys in because that number times 100 is going to give everybody a giant bonus.
They didn't account for people just walking away.
Yeah. But accountants don't think that way. Accountants only think in numbers. They say, I guarantee you 80% of them will pay for this. And it looks like that accountant made the wrong bet.
I think that accountant's going to get fired.
Yeah, but to me, it may have not.
Anyone in the higher up should have been like, no, like this is like, yes, is your math right? Yes, but you have to think about the emotion.
Yep.
And how, I guess part of it is I look at it like, do they not have anyone in marketing that would have been like, this is a stupid idea, because it's the marketer's job to think about emotion.
I'm convinced that Battlestate Games does not have a PR department and does not have a marketing department, because they have the worst marketing and PR in the world. They are the worst for communicating with the community. They can't communicate with their own community. They refuse to majority of the time, mostly just out of pride. They won't talk to us. And we're just like, please, we just want to talk to you. That's all we want to do. We want to give you feedback to make the game better, to fix the game. We've got bugs. We just want you to know about them so you can work on them. Niet, we don't want to talk to you. All right, man. This is why you're bleeding players.
Yeah, they have shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, they've blown both their feet off with a double barrel 12 gauge. Because I mean, and I saw another thing earlier that
do you think they're just do you think they're just that cocky that they think they're that good?
Yes, it is entirely pride and greed. It is pride and greed. But here's another thing. So that new PvE thing, which I was really interested. I didn't think they were going to do it, but I would have been super excited for it if they'd have grandfathered me into Unheard or had added it to EOD. I'd have been like, I'd come back and try that because it's less stressful. Playing with other people is really stressful in Tarkov. If all I had to think about were AI controlled, much easier to deal with. But apparently those PvE player versus environment single player, well, they're not single player because you can play with your friends. Those are run on Battlestate Game servers. Apparently some dude has found a vulnerability in those servers and is like holding that vulnerability hostage right now. And he's like, like trying to hold BSG hostage, and he's like, if you don't fix this, I'm going to release this vulnerability to the hacking community, and they're going to wreck your servers. Either they're going to go in as players, as hackers, and start killing players that have access to them, or it's going to be like some kind of like probably DDoS attack, something like that. And I'm just like, dang, we already cut straight to the cyber terrorism. God, I'm so proud of this community.
And even like, I'm just thinking, I don't know as much about Tarkov, but even something that I'm thinking, everyone has to at some point pay for the game.
Yep.
I'm wondering, I'm just thinking of like what information, like if they hacked into the servers, what information they could get on the players of the game.
BSG's not hosting the servers.
Okay.
That's a third party. Third party's hosting the servers.
Okay. Because I know like right now, like worldwide, there's a lot of talk and conversation around customer data security and more transparency.
Yep.
So people hacking into things that could be storing any information about a customer, like that's.
Yep, it is most certainly concerning. I mean, that's how a lot of these hacker accounts exist. They're selling accounts to people as they break into the other players' accounts and take them. So, yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, it is extremely disheartening. It is. They've burned a lot of goodwill and faith, and it's funny. It's almost, I'll use the word again, fortuitous again with Microsoft buying out World of Warcraft. I was talking to my buddy earlier today. He was like, Microsoft is just dropping W after W after W with World of Warcraft. He's like, it's almost too much. He's like, I wish they would space the content out now so I had more time to enjoy it. You know, but it's like Tarkov has just regressed into this like EA Electronic Arts behavior and this like Activision predatory, you know, like I wouldn't be surprised if they just started selling rubles, like selling in-game currency at this rate, at the rate they're going. But like World of Warcraft, I get it. We can't take the microtransactions out because the genie's out of the bottle. But like they're making up for it with just the amount of content that they're pouring on us that we don't have to pay for. You just get it because you got a subscription.
Sorry, I had an interesting thought. The recession that we're entering, that we're supposedly not in, but with all the video games going to a subscription model and microtransaction model, like ultimately, as fun as they are, video games are not a necessity.
Nope.
And it's an easy place.
There's only one game that will survive the coming recession. And it is the game that has survived the last two recessions. That game is World of Warcraft.
Because I'm just saying, especially like think about like families, like World of Warcraft. Like for us, we have to have 2 accounts. There are families with parents and 2 kids that all play, and it's like that adds up. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, if you have to cut costs, and like if you're struggling to buy groceries, the easiest place is start cutting out your video game subscriptions, Netflix, all the non-essentials. I think that'd be interesting to see what's going to happen to all these video game companies.
This is my only retort to that. And it's a Winston Churchill quote. When they came to him and said that they needed to cut funding to the arts in Britain during the Blitz, he said, what the hell are we fighting for then? You know, and to me, video games are an art form. Like,
well, and here's what I'm saying, and I'm more so not saying that like people are going to cut out all their video game subscriptions,
but they're going to pick the most important ones.
It's like they're not going to have like 30 different $5 video game subscriptions every month. They're going to pick their most valued video games and the rest are going to be gone.
Yep.
And I think that's going to be interesting to see if that has any impact on the state of the video games. And also, I could see microtransactions not having as many because they just can't afford to.
Oh no, see, the thing is, if there's one thing that I know, that's the greed of the gaming industry. They will double, triple, quadruple down on the microtransactions and subscriptions to keep trying to eke the money out of the player base, because they have to protect that profit margin and that bottom line and the shareholders. They'll do anything to protect it. They'll lay off their entire workforce to protect that bottom line.
That's what I was going to say. I don't necessarily think they're going to change. They might raise the prices a little bit on microtransactions. I don't think they're going to be able to go crazy on it because people just can't afford it.
What they'll do is, if they do anything that like what Activision did, is they'll lay off their workforce.
Well, that's what I was about to say.
Well, hold up. They'll lay off the workforce, and then they'll start flooding the in-game shops with cosmetic items and like limited edition mounts to try and get people to try and rake them in to get that $15 out of their pockets.
But that's what I was going to say. Like, it'll be interesting to see what happens with like the workforce of it when you're looking at Tesla's doing layoff. SAS is laying off people.
Yep.
I don't even know who all else. Like layoffs, and it's like everyone is predicting that it's going to be the tech companies that are going to have the most layoffs. That's going to include the video game companies, and it's going to be interesting to see what Microsoft does.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think Microsoft will get a pass on this.
Well, they are one of the largest defense contractors in the world.
They also have like all state and government contracts for
literally
just
everybody.
Word to exist on the computers.
Yeah, just for, if you are a government employee and you have Word on your computer, just know that the taxpayer pays a lot of money for that thing to be there. I don't think it's going to affect Blizzard as much as it would affect somebody like EA.
But I really think, I don't think Microsoft might necessarily get as much as a hit. Like Google's been hit. Google's done layoffs.
Well, but Microsoft grew to the biggest company in the world this year, didn't they? It's like $3 trillion or something like that. That's how much they're worth. Some number so large my brain can't comprehend it.
The things that I'm wondering, because kind of what I was hearing is like when everyone went remote during COVID, the need for tech support, just the need for tech in general increased.
Yep.
Now we're going back to normal, so it's kind of laying off of that need. There's like this massive push. So like I was actually talking with my coworkers the other day that some of the people that got laid off at Google, they were responsible for bringing the emoji to Google Docs.
Ooh.
I'm going to ask this question because I think about Google Docs. I'm like, that is what I used to write papers in high school. My English teacher would have strangled me if I put an emoji in the paper. Like, why do you need emojis in Google Docs? Like,
because we have to put emojis in everything. We have to have AI on everything. But like this napkin, this rag that is my sweat catcher for my cold water bottle is AI. This mouse is AI accelerated. This blender cup is AI accelerated to include the straw. Everything has to be AI, and everything has to have emojis, and everything has to have facial recognition and fingerprint scans.
But here's the thing of like looking at Google Drive. Who do you think went, oh, Google Drive now has emojis. Let me pay to get Google. You know, like how did that bring them any more money?
Because they're so... a lot of these people like just live in these vacuumous echo chambers, and they just don't communicate with real people at all.
Yeah, but that's my thing is like I think they've spent a lot of money on, I hate to say this, but it's like when you think about bringing value in development,
it could be sunken cost fallacy.
Yeah. Of like it just, I feel like they hired on a lot of these people and they started giving them just kind of random jobs just to justify having them and spending the money. But like now it's like, oh shoot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of that is a strategy. You hire every coder who comes out of a good college so that your competition can't hire them, and you just keep them on retainer.
But then it's like,
Yeah, then they end up getting fired. But
so I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens to Microsoft. I do think Microsoft will continue putting a lot of money into WoW just because I think it will continue to bring the money even with whatever we hit. But I do think it's going to be interesting to see what happens to other video games that just.
Well, what's crazy to me is so Microsoft lost the console war. They were beaten by Sony with the PlayStation. Xbox has failed. The death of Xbox is nigh. And if they continue to release new Xboxes, I will be surprised. They may have new editions of the latest model, but I'll be surprised if we get a 6th gen or whatever it is, whatever generation we're on now. Pay attention to it. I see Microsoft trying to collect game studios as they've done with Blizzard and produce games, not consoles. So,
but and I guess part of it where I'm really interested in seeing Microsoft develop is like, and I'm about to nerd out here.
Okay.
But like where they're developing Power BI and Copilot, I'm so excited to see what they have coming there. And how, so with Copilot, they're implementing some AI stuff, which I think there's a lot of changes coming with AI. I think some of it is, even as someone who works in tech, it's kind of scary to see some of the capabilities and what it can do. But when I saw some demonstrations at the conference I was at, what was it, last month, 2 months ago, whatever it was cool, useful features from AI that weren't, like, it didn't feel invasive with some of the demonstrations. Like, I saw, like, one of the companies literally took a presenter's picture and took a voice recording of her from just like snippets of her voice and completely had like a video of her talking and presenting stuff that she never did.
Oh, okay.
And like we were all like kind of, it took us a second to be like, to like register that like that was all faked. And that was kind of scary, of like, you know, someone could take your image and like make you say stuff and make it look like you said stuff that you didn't. And Copilot just, it didn't have that kind of personal touch to it.
Okay.
It was more of like very obviously like this is a robot. It was, but like some of the things were like sending emails of like, hey, this changed. Go look at this dashboard and like you need to go look at this. Essentially. I'm just like, and that's something that like a lot of my coworkers and management have been asking for. Like, is there a way that we can be notified of this thing? And right now it's just like we have like these random flags that if a scenario happens, and then that's more tables and data that is living in the dashboard, slowing it down.
Right.
But if we had a flag that goes, oh, this thing happened, and it just sends an email, it's not gonna, in the long run, not gonna be as clunky. But there's a lot of, I know companies are still being hesitant on whether or not to allow the use of Copilot. I know in government, there's conversations. I know the Fed right now is currently not allowed to use Copilot. But I am curious to see some of the features that are being added in.
Right.
And I know, every month Power BI has an update.
Right.
And I'm a huge Power BI nerd because
working. I'm a Power Automate. I'm not good with it, but I like it.
Nobody is. Power Automate is terrible.
Even the people who wrote Power Automate don't know how to use Power Automate.
I literally spent 2 hours researching and trying to figure out how to automate the update of data in Excel without using Power Automate because I did not want to program Power Automate.
You just program Power Automate to delete.
It is just, it's...
In theory, it should make sense, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
All right, so we've derailed enough, I think.
Yeah, okay, sorry, but...
So final thoughts on BSG's decisions. Pride, greed, name all the sins.
I think...
Lust, envy, gluttony, sloth.
Part of it is I think they're regretting the decision they made, 4 or 5 years ago?
I think they're regretting that, but I feel like they're too dumb or prideful to regret the decisions that they've made in the past 48 hours.
I agree with that statement. And part of me is just, are they so cocky that they think people will continue to buy the game and play the game even if they're mad at them?
Yes.
And I don't understand how someone can be that.
Money does crazy things to a person.
They're arrogant.
Yeah, they must think they're bulletproof. Because, like, God, you look at EA and Activision are the two scummiest. Scummy business practices. They still make money hand over fist. But, I don't see BSG surviving this unless they start really working hard to start making amends. And if they don't start firing and retiring people.
Yeah.
But, just the amount of pride. The amount, like the Twitter responses that the Battlestate Games verified Twitter account was responding with, there's a parody account of them called Batter State Games where he just goes and makes like ludicrous Twitter posts just to screw with people. He was like reposting and retweeting Battlestate Games' post, and he was like, "This is not me. What the hell is going on at Battlestate Games right now?" Because of the just insane statements that were being made.
That's just...
Yeah.
It's sad, and I feel like...
Let me see. Let's do a live check to see if...
I feel like they're giving video games like a really bad rep right now, and not necessarily video games, but like video game companies in general.
So they're updating their Twitter or their Reddit thread that they run, trying to clarify what's going on. It's just been update after update after update, but this is the most ludicrous one to me. Arena Breakout Infinite, which I don't know, might be a bad game or a good game. We'll see. They made a statement on Twitter. They were like, taking in all homeless shooter looters with a big wave goodbye to Tarkov today. We are here to welcome you to Kimona, which is the island the game happens on. If this video gets 5,000 retweets, 10,000 or more test slots will be added to our servers. Don't tell the boss. Escape from _ welcome to Kimona. And then Battlestate Games responded. This is like the most inflammatory thing that they could have said was, have a nice 20-minute adventure in the blatant plagiarist game In and Out, accusing them of plagiarism. Brother, you didn't invent the looter shooter. You can make the argument that you came up with extraction shooter, but you didn't invent looter shooters. You didn't even invent shooters. You're already on the back foot with the entirety of the community coming down on you like the sword of Damocles right now, and you're trying to make inflammatory statements. Whoever that was, I hope to God that they don't have a job there anymore, because they might have just dug Battlestate Games' grave with that statement.
Do you think they're just trying to like double down as a way of like defending their decisions?
Well, they've already quadrupled down on it. They've already said, no, it's a unique feature. It's a unique feature, not DLC. They're arguing over what they call it. We don't argue over what murder is in a court of law. You may argue to the degree, was it premeditative? Was it a crime of passion? But if someone's dead, right?
I've been in a courtroom where it was...
Okay, I get your point, but like I'm talking if we have video evidence, if we're not talking about AI stuff, let's go back a couple years. Video evidence of a dude shooting a dude, and that dude is now dead. We can confirm he is in fact dead because we have the body, as in we have the Twitter receipts. Like, why are we arguing over this? Why are we arguing over the semantics of the naming of a product you're producing that you promised us?
Oh, no, I'm very first jury duty.
Let's not get into that.
But it was, and I won't go into the details, but it was literally like the guy admitted he did it. And his lawyer is pushing people and like saying he did it, but basically arguing of whether or not it was murder and like if it should be punished and it was just like,
well, you can argue self-defense and stuff like that, but murder is murder.
It was not self-defense.
Okay.
It was like they were trying to make an argument for like mental state.
Mm-hmm.
And like, without going into too many details, grown man versus a kid.
Yeah, no.
I was just like, yeah,
like, you're already getting way too deep into this. Let's not talk about that.
Yeah, it was just. But I'm just like, people try to though, and that's what blows my mind. And I feel like, obviously not to that extent, but they're like trying to justify all of their actions.
Yep.
Without just coming out and saying, yeah, we're greedy.
Yeah.
AF and just want more money.
Yeah, like, and if you look at the Reddit thread, so this is their plan to honor the owners of the EOD version and their indelible importance and role in the EFT universe. We have a plan to add the following new unique. They keep using that word, unique features on the EOD edition: faster return on insured items, increased personal trader buying limits. This wasn't originally a part of it. They weren't going to give EOD owners anything. Increased basic PMC karma, access to unique hideout craft, increased basic charisma skills, side quest line with increased pocket size. So now I got to do a quest to get something that these guys get off the rip.
So, and even I'm just looking at this, I feel like they have shot themselves in the foot with that post, because the way you read it is it's saying they're adding unique features to the EOD.
Oh.
But like people paid for the EODs with that they would get access to all future things. So here they're saying they added it to EOD, but not giving them.
Here's the bit that makes my blood boil. Unique dog tag, unique armband, unique set of clothing, unique legacy device. We keep using the word unique.
How does that matter unless there was a thing of...
Hold up. We get high priority matching for EOD owners for 6 months. So I get priority matching for 6 months. Like it's some kind of effing subscription service. This is the bit that really turned me over. Access to the offline PvE for EOD members for 6 months only. Like it's a rental period. So you're going to give me what I already paid for, and then you're going to take it away after 6 months. Congratulations.
Like my whole thing with that of like, where was the fine print that said unique features will be excluded?
Yeah.
Like, you said like all updates to EOD, and now you're saying these unique features in EOD. Yeah. Well, I'm like, they're a part of EOD, so they're not excluded. Like
people's responses: 6 months temporary. Are you on crack? Everybody's like, the only Tarkov killer is Battle State Games itself. Dude, what do you mean 6 months? Are you joking? Give us permanent access to DLC you promised us that you would. Like, oh, that reminds me, I actually need to go ahead and uninstall it so I can have more room to record our podcast. Because I have Arena and Battle State still installed.
I would, if it was me, I would leave them installed just to like wait and see what happens.
I mean, I can go in right now and see. I don't know if there was a wipe or not. I just want to see what it says on the launcher. It may be like a 50 gig launcher update because I haven't been in the game in so long. But yeah, I'm
waiting to see if like a month from now they're like, even just like a week from now, if they're trying to backtrack.
Look, we have an expansions tab now on this. Stash upgrade, $3 a line. Co-op upgrade, $10 to have offline co-op. $5 starting at $5 for apparel unlocked.
I'm just
like, I don't understand. I don't understand how.
They must not have, the only thing I figure is they do not have a legal team.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Because I feel like if they were going to do this, if they even had the idea of do this, and maybe that's why like they're doing that and they feel so cocky about it, is they've ran it by a lawyer, and the lawyer is like, oh, like here's the fine print that allows you to get away with this.
Yeah.
Because that's the only thing I figure, that they've actually talked to a lawyer, but I feel like maybe the lawyer just wants the paycheck from the lawsuit.
Oh, so they changed it so it only cost me $50 to upgrade to it now. Like, what was that?
I don't know, I kicked something.
No, it sounded like a ding of some kind.
Whatever this is.
No, it wasn't that. It was something else. Yeah, it's only $50 for EOD guys to upgrade to it now. But my thing is like, so I got to pay an extra $50 for something I paid $150 for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like you're just bilking every little bit of cash you can get out of me. You know, it's just scummy. It's greedy. And I'm a Star Citizen stan through and through. I'll admit it. I'm a Star Citizen stan, and I just find this just disgusting. Could you not knock everything over, please?
I don't even know what it is.
It's a can of air, and you're behaving like the cats right now.
It is like 10 o'clock at night, and my ADHD medication is.
I noticed when you derailed the entire conversation for a good half hour. So, but you want to wrap it up here?
Yeah, I think we both are done venting about how ludicrous this is.
Yeah, how insane the situation is. So, alrighty then. Well, if you made it this far, thank you so much. We love having you. We love making this content for you. So if you like us, please go check out our Patreon. We have one. I'll keep uploading stuff there. It's for ad-free content. We'll try and do bonus content when both of us have more time to make more content.
Yeah.
So
if you want to join everyone complaining about the changes to Tarkov, just drop it down in the comments. We'll gladly engage with it. So.
Yeah, I will give you thoughts that are worth nothing, but we will engage with each other.
If you want to vent, you got a box to do it in.
If you just want to scream in the void, scream in the void. We are here to support you.
But thank you guys so much. We love having you guys. And
thank you.